Devastating fires in Australia, killing at least 18 people, forcing tens of thousands from their homes. And many of those residents, as well as tourists, are seeking shelter now from those flames on beaches.
The world is on edge tonight after Iran made good on its promise, launching a revenge attack on the United States following the death of its top military leader.
Protesters turned out in droves, many for the first time, to call for change in a system they say discriminates against Black Americans. But will that activism make a difference at the ballot box?
We have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19.
Canadian travelers should return to Canada via commercial means while it is still possible to do so. Let me be clear, if you're abroad, it's time for you to come home.
This was a different year. Humans have created a new history in this year. A history that has never happened in the past, affecting the present and changing the future. This is Dusk.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
I was so excited about 2020. Remember that night I was in my friend's house in the basement. We did the countdown together. And I think the most important part was like no mask. Lol.
So I was so happy. I have a lot of fun with my friend, and then I count down with my friend at that time, and then we had sweet, enjoy some burgers later that, and then went to a small, the small parties. And I think the best part was I was not alone at that time because I'm with my friends, right? Yes, that's the best memory at that time.
I didn't go anywhere that day. In fact, I was just staying at home, sleeping. It was pretty boring, but I didn't really bother with that since it's been like that for a long time. And I didn't expect that it will be my last chance to celebrate New Year's with other people.
So 2020 was so crazy and dark. I mean, yes, it started with fires in Australia, California, a lot of protests, and a lot of political problems like in all over the world. It was so much stressful at that time. And, I mean, if it was a movie, I would say that 2020 would be a horror movie.
I think 2020 was a year where all the bad things were dumped into it. Literally everything that I imagined would happen in a war happened in 2020, which made it so scary. Not that I lost hope for the future, but it was just too scary to see what actually happened all around the world in 2020, like protests in America and wildfires in Australia and in California. It was just so unbelievable.
It was just terrifying to see how many things have changed. Even the way we dress changed. Pessimistically talking, it was like the end of the world. Like the hope that we had at the beginning of the year was like fading away slowly as we walked through like January, February, March, and then the rest of the year was so hard. But optimistically talking, it teaches us a lot of things. Yeah, but it's just so hard to see it in the good way, in the positive way, knowing that, yeah, so many things happen that we don't like.
January 31st, the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency. This changes everything, from the way we dress to the way we do business. This affects every aspect of humans' life.
At first, I didn't think that the lockdown would really affect my life in a way that I would just not go out really often. So even if I had to stay home all year long, it'll just be fine for me. But I didn't really consider the fact that school was closed and it was really boring for me.
It was spring break. Ontario had their lockdown earlier than BC. That time I hoped like we could do the same thing in BC, but yeah, in fact we got like extra spring break and I was like, yay, extra spring break. But not after a month. It was stupid.
I did want COVID to get worse at that time, like a little worse. I know I very selfish, very stupid at that time. Why? Because I just want to extend my spring break. I want to stay home a little longer after spring break, but I know it's stupid. And then everything just went out of control when COVID get actually worse.
Thousands of people lost their jobs. Many small businesses closed. A city as big as New York City turned into a ghost town. Everything was stopped. But if we look back through history, it somehow seems to be a loop. Every 100 years, the world is hit by a pandemic. Starting from 1720 plague, 1820 cholera outbreak, 1920 Spanish flu, and now 2020 coronavirus pandemic. This doesn't just affect the world's economy, but also student psychology.
I didn't get outside for exactly 1 month. Like I really didn't even go to my backyard. And then like after 1 month, I went to the grocery stores, and I saw everything was like empty. Like the streets were empty. Like even malls are empty. I was kind of lonely because like all my friends, most of them are international students, so they were not in Canada, and it was just hard to communicate with them. It was like the darkest time of my life. It was like dusk till dawn.
I was in my room all the time and I couldn't go out to meet any of my friends. All of our interactions were through phones and messages, social media. To be honest, it was pretty depressing, and I believe all the other international students also experienced the same thing with me, and I just hope that everything would be over soon. I hope that the sun would rise earlier.
For the few days of lockdown, I was so happy. I stayed home, that's what I wish, and then enjoyed some novels, romantic novels. And then I was bored, like I start feel like boring when I run out of novels. And then I start missing the day, like the day that I can go out with my friend, enjoy burgers, something like that.
The word dusk doesn't end with dusk. People don't say dusk alone. Instead, it always ends with dawn. Dusk till dawn. And just like the word dusk, we believe the same things apply to 2020. It was dusk, hopeless, dark, but it's not the end. Even though it's still dark this year, and we don't know when it's done. But the problem is not when, the problem is how. How are you gonna take this? Are you just going to give up and do nothing? Or are you gonna stand up and choose optimism? The choice is yours.